So we are going to talk about Euphoria. There's a lot going on in Euphoria. Genre-wise, you've got typical high school.
Yeah.
You got some drugs and sex. What is the challenge in editing that to trying to keep that all kind of grounded in reality and not overshadowing each other?
Right. It is a kind of delicate balance of storytelling because it is a lot of kind of dark comedy in a way. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of sexy, but it's kind of dark. And I think a lot of us actually, on the editing team, we kind of tap into our own personal experiences. So, for instance, my own parents struggled with drug addiction, and so for me to go in and edit these scenes, where they're struggling, where it's a family who's struggling with drug addiction, we can bring our own personal experiences into it. And actually, the panel that I'm speaking on later is about diversity and inclusion, and there's some incredible gay, and queer stories in Euphoria. And when I was in high school, I fell in love with my best friend, and there's a storyline like that in the second season where, Cal, the father, when he was growing up, he fell in love with his best friend. And so we bring a lot of our own lives into the work, and that's how we make it authentic, and that's how we make it really personal and really powerful, really emotional.
One of the things I love about Euphoria, especially with those kind of storylines, it's not preachy. It's just like these are all normal kids. It doesn't matter, but they're all going through the same thing, and they just and that's why it's narratively, it's not kind of like lectures. It's like, no, these are normal children, all with anxiety and all these same issues we all have.
Exactly, and it's interesting, when the shows come out, and you look on Twitter, and I just get tons and tons of messages from kids who are like, I went through this same thing, or my brother went through the same thing, or my sister, went through the same thing, and they really feel like the show reflects a kind of truth back to them. And it's nice to see what you've experienced in storytelling. And it's nice to be able to, because it makes you feel less alone. You can connect with these stories and be like, somebody gets it. Somebody knows what I've been through.
So what was the most challenging episode to edit?
Definitely. So the second season, I edited episode 5, which is what they call the Rue Runs episode. And, there's a really intense, moment in the house where they basically have an intervention, and then Rue goes on this crazy adventure. And that episode, it's almost every genre, of storytelling in one. The last scene, with the drug dealer Lori is almost like a horror movie. The opening scene is almost like a documentary, and then there's this crazy, police chase, which is sort of like comedic and scary and funny, and all things kind of rolled into one. And so that was kind of the most challenging aspect of it. Was like I had to dive into almost every kind of genre of editing and filmmaking and storytelling, and make it all feel cohesive and feel like one story.
Yeah, I was hoping you would answer the question for that episode, because it is my favorite episode of it. But the end scene was one of the most tense things I've ever seen, where what's about to happen to Rue if she doesn't get out. Like, this is how Trapped happened. So for you, was there any kind of challenge, like how far to push that, how far to pull it back? How much fear do we want her to experience?
No, absolutely, and that's always this challenge, when you're editing, is there is that push and pull, It's like how much do you slow things down, how much do you speed things up, and we do a lot of play on Euphoria in the editing. What we do a lot of is we do what we call alts. So it's like, hey, let's take that scene and let's do a different beginning, and then, hey, what if we slowed the whole thing down? Hey, what if we sped the whole thing up? And so we try all these different alts and we experiment. And we find this is the one that creates the most emotion. This is the one that just rips your heart out when you're watching it. This is the one that's so scary. And so it's that kind of creative play that I think really makes the show special.
It must make it easy too when Zendaya is awesome and gives you great takes.
Oh my gosh, yes, she's brilliant. She's amazing, and she's so sweet. She's so great to work with. I can give her an example of how brilliant she is. In that episode, episode 5, she came in that opening scene where it's kind of like a documentary. They shot so many takes after takes after takes. I mean, it was this huge, amazing shoot. And she came in and she was like, hey, and she had shot this scene probably 2 months earlier. And she was like, there's this one line where I said this one thing. She had done this little bit of improv, this little bit of tweak on a line. And I was like, and she's like, can we try that? And I was like, yes. And I went right to the line and pulled it in. And it was like, and that was her only note, on that section. And it was just so it's just to show that she's not just an amazing actress, but she's really an amazing storyteller, right? She can think like back to that one moment, and so she's really great to work with, really great to work with.